College Football Nerds here talking quarterbacks. Josh did a quick cut up of the 4 quarterbacks in the semifinals, just showing you a little bit of how defenses are playing these quarterbacks and how they're responding. And we just wanted to put something quick together. If you haven't seen our Ohio State Notre Dame preview, it is out there. It is awesome. We referenced this video, and we don't have all 22s. We don't have professional video for y'all, but you can follow along and see what we got going on. It's really just to give you a different angle from the sky cam to see what the defenses are doing and what the quarterbacks are seeing and how they've responded, and maybe give you a little insight into what you're going to see in this national championship game. And without further ado, I'll let Josh run with it.
So now let's talk a bit about Will Howard. And I want to start with some stuff from the Tennessee game, actually, to show where he's, really excelling and where he's good at and what made this offense so much more successful. And I couldn't help but start with this play because I think this sort of really shows that there were multiple things going on in these first couple playoff games. This is just bad defense. But it also shows the explosiveness Ohio State has to capitalize it. Ohio State signaling the line of scrimmage, probably pointing out the mic. Hard to say what the line call is here. Safety rolls down on the right. On the left side, because they're in too high, you've got a safety over top of Egbuka right inside the hash. Watch this route. Egbuka's just running a post. Safety goes to the outside of the left. I don't know why. Nobody is over Egbuka. Howard is just looking at him at the snap. Right field safety had rotated down. This is candy from a baby, okay? So the safety's having to turn and run to a player that's already behind him. Throws decently on the money. First down, inside the goal line. Too easy. When we talk about how Howard had been locked in for parts of the playoff, there's a couple plays here that really show why. First one's pretty simple. We've got 6 guys walked up to the line of scrimmage. We're going to bail. We're going to bring 4, really 7 guys to the line of scrimmage. You want to put it that way. Zone coverage, it's a soft zone. Scott sits in the zone. Howard sees it. There's actually some pass rush coming. I mentioned how the line for Ohio State wasn't actually holding up. People kind of laughed at that, but you see some hints of it here. There is pressure coming, but Howard's reading the defense and getting the ball out fast, and importantly, Tennessee has some pretty big holes. Simple throw to the tight end, gets upfield, simple play, boom, next thing you know, you're going to have a 3rd and short. That's really important for what this offense was trying to do. Now we see the play that I think really killed Tennessee and I think was equally effective against Oregon. It's simple plays where they're making use of Howard's mobility in order to get 3 to 5 yards. Often against Tennessee is more like 7-yard plays. All right, at the snap, we're immediately rolling out. We've got Henderson as sort of a lead blocker. We are leaking protection on the right-hand side, but it doesn't matter. Howard's an athlete. He's gotten to the right. Egbuka crossing field, gets a little bit of separation. Ball is well placed out in front on this little out route. Turns it upfield. That's a 7-yard completion, guys. And, let's look at the way the routes are being run on the right. And a lot of this has to do with just having a lot of weapons because it's hard for the defense to defend. One of the rare instances where this is the skycast angle is actually almost harder to see. But note Egbuka right off the line of scrimmage in the slot here. We've got 3 guys. This is a pick play. You can see Smith there gets jammed, drives his guy back. That's why he's a big-time player. Just creating traffic. Tennessee did not have the athletes to run with these guys. You see the Tennessee corner, they're trying to engage. And then by the time the ball's thrown, there's already separation. They just couldn't really run with these guys sideline to sideline. Ball comes up, and they got 7 yards about whenever they wanted to in this game. Those plays, extend drives, the ease with which they completed them was the reason they ran away from Tennessee. At this point, it's 21-10. It was still a ball game, and this is really what kept them driving, kept them scoring, and allowed them to blow the game open. So the question becomes what changed in the game versus Texas? And I think there are a number of things that changed, but a lot of it was just the quality of defense being faced. Here we've got 1st and 10, 3:23 left in the second quarter. Notably, this is right before Texas is going to score to tie the game. And then on the final drive of the half, which is later, Ohio State scores again with a big screen pass that kind of broke it open. But why did they have a window to come back in the first place? So let's watch. First things first, first down, run play. This is power. We got 2 guys pulling on the left. And this is just simply a fact of Texas being really good against the run. And then Ohio State run game from the offensive line has been surprisingly good in the playoffs, but not at an elite level. They're pushing. There's a lot of traffic, but 67 gets stoned. That's right where Judkins is trying to go. You can see him playing off that block off 67. He actually goes down. Doesn't really matter. He was effective because he rerouted Judkins. Linebackers are scraping well. Guys are already coming free. By the time he tries to reverse field, down he goes. That goes nowhere. So that sets up second down. Okay, so now we're at 2nd and 10. We're more of an obvious passing down situation. Texas lines up defensively. They kind of roll the safety down, but they have the ability to stay in a too high look. In fact, they do. See, we got 2 guys dropping, so this is, it looks like a Tampa 2, right? You've got a guy center field below the logo, about the 40-yard line. You've got 2 guys dropping into deep zones and moving towards the 50-yard line markers on either side. The right-hand side there, you got a corner bailing on Carnell Tate, but you also have this blitz off the edge, and you have 70 getting beat to the inside. That speeds up the throw, all right? Now, speeding up the throw is crucial here because that forces Howard to get the ball out to Judkins. This is just better defensive play. Not only does he speed up the throw, the corner's rolled off Tate. He's coming downhill. By the time the ball's thrown, this ball, if it had been put with more air under it, I'm not sure it's not intercepted. So you start to wonder if maybe you see quarterbacks that are pretty good and experienced. Sometimes they pull the string a little bit when they see the ball being bit on. The end of the throw, you can kind of pull it down and intentionally throw it in the dirt because you realize as you're letting it go, it's going to be a pick. Ball's down, incompletion. Now we're in 3rd and 10. And so that was kind of the fatal thing for Ohio State here. And let's watch that 3rd and 10 play because, again, I think a lot of the same themes are showing up. 5 men in. You've got Judkins in, so potentially 6 in protection. Texas, because it's 3rd and 10, is allowed to go wide splits. You've seen this a lot, right? You got guys almost in 7 technique. They're way outside the offensive tackles. There's no threat of an interior run game. Texas is not scared about Ohio State running a draw or running any sort of run game inside out of shotgun to convert on 3rd and 10. They're bringing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we've got a lot of pressure. That pressure's leaking. We're getting beat inside here. We've already got a rusher coming inside. Howard sped up. At this point, a lot of our routes haven't really progressed, but this is where Howard can get bad versus pressure. He is locked in on Jeremiah Smith. And Jeremiah Smith may be Superman, but when you're playing against high-level DBs and they know you're throwing deep, he is bailing. There is no window to throw this ball. Now, his best route is right over the middle of the field there. I think if there's anywhere he can go, it's there. But Texas is bailing and then also trapping underneath. You see that DB coming underneath with Smith. They are not going to let him throw that pass. By the time Howard comes off it, he's already being sacked. Again, the middle of the field was open. If he'd seen that and come off Smith earlier, he probably could have had a completion. But Howard is not always the best at coming off his primary read. And unlike the Tennessee game where those primary reads were open, and again, against zone coverage, it was a little better. A simple zone. Here you've got a better, more active coverage. There's not easy things underneath in the zone. They're able to force him into long yardage, and that was able to stymie this Ohio State's offense throughout the night. So let's talk about a couple plays from Riley Leonard. And here what you're going to see is an example of a check into a trap coverage. Again, we're talking about how these modern defenses are kind of hard to dissect. See number 7 up at the line of scrimmage, okay? He's a corner. He's showing a blitz. Leonard sees this. It is 3rd and 10. He thinks he needs to get the ball off quick. He's got 6 guys at the line of scrimmage. He's only got 5 blockers, 6 if he keeps the back in protection. So he's going to decide, if you watch this, to check into a wide receiver screen. So he's running the line, see that check, check, check. This is an audible. You'll see it play out. And now I want you to watch what happens, okay? We're looking for number 7 on the blitz. Snap the ball. 7 comes. But 41, the linebacker, see his head's all the way to the side. This is a trap coverage. He's playing zone to that wide side of the field from the snap. Some of this is often an RPO beater. But what it means is they're expecting to get numbers. They're expecting this offensive tackle here to have nobody to block. So he's going to be on the safety. Instead, number 41 is actually all the way out there, almost to the far hash. This ball is not thrown on a rope. It's thrown a bit high, hard to take down, so the receiver doesn't catch it in stride. 41 is faster than the tackle, so he's at the hash, beats the tackle to the spot. The receiver is not allowed because of that to get upfield. We've got hat on a hat, hat on a hat. We should be able to get to the 40-yard line probably before contact. Instead, we're diverted inside. Wrapped up, swarm defense by Penn State. Doesn't go for much of a gain. This is an example of a couple different things. One, Penn State doesn't have the elite athletes on the outside to make these plays into explosive plays in a bad situation. But 2, it's a lot of what these defenses are doing to just take a quarterback or maybe a passing game that doesn't have a lot of options against the blitz or a lot of ability to be explosive and then sort of negate those things by using trap coverages, making you see pressure, for getting you to throw because of the pressure is a very common concept, and then trapping you in that throw by collapsing coverage down. That's why 3rd and 10 is going to be such a difficult position for Notre Dame in particular to get out of, because their offense just isn't equipped in these situations. Now let's show another example of protection calls. Here you're going to see something called a half slide. What that means is the 4 linemen on the left, they're going to block left. The lineman on the right, 59, the right tackle is going to have the guy to his right. Now, what's notable about this is number 11, the guy to his right is Abdul Carter, and that's one of the best pass rushers in the Big Ten, if not the country. But what he sees is 4 guys to the center and left of center. He sees 1 guy to his right. So he says, hey, 4 linemen, I want you to block left in case they bring pressure. We've got enough guys. Offensive tackle in 59, you've got the guy on the right. We want to make sure, that we're not going to get overloaded 4-on-3, and we're going to give up this 1-on-1 to the right. Watch as he comes to the line of scrimmage, makes an audible. If you ever wonder why they do this and the running back doesn't even know what's going on, it's because these are line checks. So he's the reserve. Turns out I think he's releasing for a pass. It doesn't matter, but he wants to make sure he knows the protection. See all the linemen with their left hand pointing left? That's how I know it's a slide, not just the fact of how they're going to protect eventually. Send a guy on motion, snap the ball. 4 linemen looking left, 1 to the right. 41 drops, so you got 4 blocking 3 to the left. You've got Abdul Carter single on the right. And now I'm going to back this up a bit so you can see how Penn State sets this up. They've got 3 guys off center, off guard, off tackle. That's the 0, the 3, and that's almost what you would call a 7, but 5 gap, but probably more of 7 technique, meaning he's outside where the tight end would be. And then they have Abdul Carter all the way out, what would generally be considered a 7 technique on the right side of the line of scrimmage. He's outside where the tight end would be lined up, way outside for the offensive tackle. They can do this because it's 3rd and 12. Okay, so there's no threat of run behind right guard. There'd be a huge glaring hole. If you were to make a check here, you'd almost, if you're Lane Kiffin, he probably checks this into a run off right guard. And heck, he might get 12 yards, but it's hard to do against these elite defenses. You're just not going to run well enough. So we make this check at the line of scrimmage, right? And let's see how this plays out. We've decided to do a half slide. Guys are making a lot of slide protections, maybe too many. A lot's been said about that. All right, at the snap, what do we got? Guys dropping. This is zone coverage. Right tackle 1-on-1. Guy on the center is looping. 41 drops again, just like in the prior video. We've got a stun on the left. Couple things to note here. One, I don't like Leonard's footwork. What we're going to see after he drops, note Penn State all knows this is a pass play from the jump. You can see him pointing in the air here. Leonard is going to drift right. His feet are on the in capital 1. Okay, so he snaps 1-1. Now he's drifting right. He needs to realize he's got the best pass rusher in the country on his right-hand side, 1-on-1 with a tackle. Don't drift into him. But he does. He drifts into the stunt. He's actually had a pocket. If his feet had stayed on the in, look at that. He wouldn't be touched. But because of that, his footwork is all off. He slides left here, tries to throw across the middle. There is a hole in the zone. He's kind of late. This probably should be out, but it's makeable if he throws correctly. I think the better throw is probably that breaking, probably a deep slant is what that really is, right at the 45-yard line. Not a bad hole in the zone he's found. Lets it fly, but this is loose. You can see his body wasn't correct. His feet weren't set. Ball sails high, interception. This is all about protection. It's about understanding your pocket. That directs your footwork. When the footwork are bad, the throw's bad. All these things culminate in issues for the passing game for Notre Dame. I want to give you an idea of some of the plays that I think show how quarterbacks these days are kind of being schooled on some things that were really dominant for a certain area in football, but they're not quite as effective these days. And this is, let's start with a good example. It says 15 minutes in the third. This is actually about 6:22. ESPN's clock's wrong. But what you're going to see here is a pretty quick little throw over the middle. Notre Dame shows standard look. They're going to come pressure, late blitz. I don't know if this is an RPO read or a straight decision, but Tyler Warren, you can see him flashing over the middle of the screen. It's just a matter of getting the ball off over the middle. Flings it in there. You can see why Allar's a high-level draft prospect just because he's able to get that ball off. But you can also see some of his sort of limitations as a passer because that ball wasn't thrown quite as early as it probably should have been, almost got tipped, and it wasn't really necessarily the best pass. So let's look at another one just a couple plays later. Now this is just 2 plays later, okay? Again, 6:01 on the clock. They get it corrected on ESPN. They've run with Singleton, didn't really gain much, so now they're trying to look and get a first down. But it's second down, if you see the marker on the sideline, and they just need some positive yardage here to put themselves in good down and distance. So what they're going to call is a bootleg to the right. Typically, the way these plays work is the quarterback's going to have either a man coverage read, in which case he's going to throw a man, hopefully just have a lead on his guy, or if it's zone, they're going to do what's called a high-low, which means they're going to expect the defensive back that's going to cover the rollout side where they probably have a tight end short. He's either going to pull down to the tight end and you throw over the top, or he drops back and you throw to the tight end. Most defenses try to scheme to drop, give you the tight end underneath, and keep it to a short play rather than give you the chunk first down. But what you'll see here from Allar is that he's not particularly good at this read. So if we go along, right, full rollout, see the defender there. You got a defender, looks like probably zone coverage. You've got number 3 breaking out. Modern defenses, we talk about all the time. You got a corner on the right side rolling out. I don't know if this is cover 3 or something else, but it does look to be zone, to where you got a middle field safety and a right corner dropping to a deep third, or at least maybe some sort of robber zone. Again, this is why it's hard on quarterbacks, because I can't even tell you exactly where that corner's zone coverage responsibility is. But it's muddied his read, okay? So he's not got a simple high-low read because he's got a corner rolling deep. He's got a linebacker in coverage underneath. What he needs to do right here is just throw to Tyler Warren. It's your best player. He's open with range. He's at the 40-yard line. That's at the sticks, just past it. If he catches the ball in stride and runs upfield, you'd expect him to get probably 4 or 5 yards and get tackled. That's going to set up second and 2 or 3. This is the problem with Allar. His eyes come off. He's now looking at that receiver that's trying to cross the face of a safety. I don't know. That if you look at the green grass there's probably a throw. There's no way the safety's going to get his hips turned and run with him. So you can expect him to get open. Ball doesn't come out. Instead, we're continuing to run. Our eyes are down. We're now running into the teeth of the defense. Goes down. This ends up being a 1-yard gain. And what I want people to take away from this is do somewhat to modern offenses clouding looks, and again, realize this is live happening pretty fast, but also just to a lack of discipline by quarterbacks and a lack of understanding of modern pro-style concepts in the passing game is creating these plays of little value. This is a play where I would say a game management quarterback where, Howard is a good example of it, probably going to get you 5 to 7 yards. And that's the thing that's been the most consistent with Ohio State to this point of the season. But instead you have Allar that's pulling it down on a play where he really shouldn't, ends up running for essentially no gain, running into traffic. And this is all about a quarterback's ability to process the field, see the read. Again, taking the easy play is more than good enough. There was a big play to be had with that receiver that's now you can see him center of the field if he makes that throw. But either way, by not making a decision, you end up with a no gain. They end up punting on this drive because they don't convert on 3rd and long. And that's kind of the thing that's been really crippling a lot of these offenses these days. Let's talk a bit about Ewers versus this Ohio State defense. The thing you've got to stress is that Ohio State's defense puts you in binds because of their athleticism, and they're able to do some things that make it even more difficult on quarterbacks. So if you look at this play here, 2nd and 5, they're going to take a shot. They're in a 2-high shell, okay? So we've got receivers on the right, receivers on the left. We've got a safety deep in 8 in 2. So we've only got 6 guys in the box shaded outside. This linebacker 0 is probably, I believe, stacked over the linebacker. Yep. So we've got 5 in the line of scrimmage. We got a quarterback. That leaves us with 6 guys. So 5 guys wide. You've got 1 on the left. 2 on the left. And you're going to have 1, 2, 3 on the right. All right. So on either side, what Ohio State has been able to do is they've got 1, 2, 3 covering 2, and they've got 1, 2, 3, 4 covering 3. You can see the shadow of the third guy just off the screen there. The ability to play defense with 2 safeties high on 2nd and 5 is due to Ohio State's ability to defend the run. That's the first thing you have to understand. But what Texas is going to try to do here is they're going to try to take a deep shot. And what you see is sort of the fatal flaw in Texas's offense. It's been them all year. Accuracy on the deep ball, okay? So there's not a lot of separation. Anywhere you look on the field, coverage left, coverage down the sideline, that's bracket coverage. Downs is a bit inside. I'd like to see him stay back a little bit. I'm not sure if he's asked to key on the run or if he's trying to shake down inside, but we've let this guy that's run middle receiver on that that stack on the right-hand side get to the hash, running a post. Ewers steps up. He kind of steps awkwardly. His mechanics aren't on point. This ball sails over the head of 0, incompletion. So let's look at the following play, 3rd and 5. Again, Ohio State's too good against the run for Texas to feel like they can run in this situation. Ohio State's checking the line of scrimmage. They're a little bit late, but you got a lot of guys in the box. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Downs, shaded down. This is the advantage of having a safety that can play cover. You've got a safety there, number 8, deep in the left hash. Guys crossing every which way underneath. Lots of good coverage over the middle. Nobody's really open. These crossing routes over the middle are good for me. Those are man beaters, but against zone coverage, they smartly don't throw this. I've seen Leonard be a little bad about throwing crossing routes versus zone coverage. It's not very effective. I know a couple plays that got broken up for incompletions or because of that. But so far, nobody's breaking open. Middle of the field, that's a tough throw. So he's going to keep climbing the pocket. Really climbs too far. He's in front of his center. Shouldn't happen. But he's going to pick that breaking route on the right side. That's Isaiah Bond. Sidearms it. This is why he was a 5-star number 1 quarterback in his class. That is a very hard throw to make. But because he's being hit as he throws this behind. Bond tries to go back for it. I think the broadcast complained about him jumping. You get it a little more from this angle. This pass was further behind him than you think it was. Doesn't catch the ball and it's down. But the thing I want you to keep in mind of this play is just how much Ohio State's defense was really shut down everything on this pass play, right? So if we go from the snap, this is just a 3rd and 5 play. I want you to look and just see where do you throw the football, okay? I mean, this isn't anything exotic. This is zone defense, guys dropping into coverage. We got what looks to be a 4-man rush. 33 is actually going to go out and take the back. We've got 91 swinging, so you've got a 3-man pass rush on this, which means you've got 8 guys in coverage. There's nowhere to go. The receiver's running everywhere. Ewers gets a little trigger happy. He has a clean pocket. 91's not even engaged. He really should be sitting back here biding his time. Gets impatient, climbs the pocket unnecessarily, tries to force this ball. I think his best throw there is the guy crossing the face of number 6 in the left hash, right at the middle logo, probably to the left side of the field. Bond's not a bad pick, but again, because of his footwork, because of where he's at, forces this throw. And this is all about confusion defensively. It's about Ohio State's ability to be athletic defensively. And when you look at this again, even me, who is a bit of a trained eye, it's difficult for me to tell you what this defensive scheme even is. We've got some sort of, you want to say drop 8 coverage, but we're doing it out of a 4 wide look. One of the linemen is covering the flat. We got 3 across here. This isn't some cover 3 zone, right? I don't see 3 guys going deep. In some ways, this looks like man with a switch. But if I had to guess, I would say this is split field coverage. And split field is something you saw in the NFL. You don't see a whole lot in college because of its complexity. But what it means is guys on one side of the field are generally running man. Guys on the other side of the field are running zone. Or at least they may be running different types of zone coverage on one side or the other. The man zone concept's more common in Saban's scheme. Nobody quite runs that pattern match anymore. He's the only guy that did it because it was so hard to teach. But I think if you watch this, you're seeing guys on the right playing underneath, looks like a corner dropping. And then you have a deep field safety shaded all the way over the left. I'm guessing the zone on the right side and zone on the left side, but they're not the same zone. This isn't cover 2 or cover 3. This is split field, meaning you have a deep safety on one side. You do not have a deep safety on the other. Coverage rules are going to be different. Again, if somebody in the comments, if you want to tell me what you think this coverage is, feel free, because this is complicated. And for a quarterback, what this turns you into is see guy open, throw guy open. You can't read this defense effectively without being able to diagnose it post-snap. Even in slow motion, I don't know that I've been able to diagnose this. Somebody probably going to call me stupid for it, but I think this is quite complicated, even if it's just a rolled safety. Again, I don't see man. I see some variant of zone here. And so, if you're not a heady quarterback that can find a guy quickly, anticipate, and make a throw with good timing, the best thing that happens is you got to get eye open and you throw it behind him and he drops it. Just really, really tough to play against these guys.